Welcome, everybody, to Celebrating Pollinators. Today we are joined by Dennis Carey and Amanda Bratcher. Dennis is our curator, and Amanda works with NC State Extension. We are very happy to have them here today, talking about this very important subject. If you are watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe as we get into Celebrating Pollinators today. Dennis, would you like to tell us a little bit about Amanda, and Amanda, tell us about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So everybody, hi. This is Amanda Bratcher, extension agent for Lee County, and a former intern here at the Arboretum in what year?
2010.
2010.
13 years ago.
Okay. 15.
You know it's 2025, right?
Yeah.
Wait, what time? What? Oh
You
my
said
gosh.
2010.
I totally did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
15 years
15
ago.
years ago.
And a former coworker of mine when we both worked at Juniper level for a few years overlap. So we're glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
And we are here today to talk about the Great Southeast Pollinator Census.
Yes.
So let's get started and tell us about it.
Yeah, so the Great Southeast Pollinator Census is a community science project. And it's all across the Southeast. So in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and this year, Alabama. But it's a way to empower anybody to go out into their gardens, their landscape, their community, and count insect pollinators on flowering plants in August for this project. But I see it as like a gateway community science project because it's very simple. And it kind of whets people's appetites for collecting data about insects. Maybe it might be like the first time that people are seeing insects, like even though they see them, but when you have to sit and watch an insect for 15
Observe
minutes,
them.
yeah,
Up close, yeah.
It really like suddenly sinks in for some people, like, oh my gosh, there's insects everywhere and there's so many different kinds. So I like it as like the gateway community science project for more pollinator work.
So it's a community science project, and we're basically counting the numbers of certain pollinators on flowering plants. And you brought the data collection sheet.
I did.
It is very simple.
Super simple. And it was designed by that. So the project originally came out of Georgia Extension. So Becky Griffin she still is, the community gardens and school gardens state specialist for Georgia. And she was working with these school gardens, these community gardens, and they had these beautiful gardens. They were weed free, they were pest free, but like they weren't having good fruit set, and they just haven't had a lot of flowers and things in their garden. And they're like, what is wrong? We're not harvesting anything. And turns out people weren't planting enough flowering plants to attract pollinators to pollinate their vegetables, because it's great to have a bunch of tomatoes and cucumbers and whatever. And yeah, they may attract some bees, but man, nothing attracts some bees like planting some cosmos or, some mint or some herbs. And so she realized that people were really focusing on their vegetable production and not so much like on the greater ecosystem that is created in a garden. And so she was thinking, okay, I'm working with younger people. I'm working with people who may not be trained entomologists, but it's really important that they both kind of understand and appreciate insects to kind of help with this. So she designed the Great Southeast Pollinator Census for three purposes. The first, to create sustainable pollinator habitat at any landscape level. She's not saying gardens. It's, because everybody's property is different. So sustainable pollinator habitat. The second goal is entomological literacy, which entomology is the study of insects. So she just wants people to be more aware and then start to use those words about insects, in their day-to-day lives.
Sure.
And then finally, to generate useful data for science, because there are some really excellent entomologists out there. At NC State, we have several great folks who work every day to understand pollinators in our modern society, but there's only like a handful of them, and they can only be in so many places at one time. So when you think about having, all of the school kids, all the community gardeners, and everybody who can hold a clipboard and look at a plant for 15 minutes, you suddenly have a lot more points of data that you can get. So she was really just trying to maximize that entry into this. So it's a really simple protocol.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
The data sheet is very simple. It's just the name, there's like 8 boxes of different types of insects to count. And if you know the name of the plant you're looking at, I guess you don't have to, but if you do know it, you can put that on there.
We do prefer, because I do some data. I have I summarize a little bit of data at the end of the year just to kind of give people a little bit of a, yay, we did it. So it's fun to tell people what were the top 10 things that people count, top 10 genera that were counted on, which is kind of fun from a horticultural
plant
standpoint.
person,
But I have also seen some really oddball things. Somebody counted on okra last year.
Okay.
Somebody counted on, there was something weird as well that, anyways, it's so fun to see those 1 or 2 things where somebody just happened to notice some random thing in flower in August and went for it.
Or they had one in their garden and let's look at that one. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, the different insect types, half of them are bees. So last week, Mark was talking about in his integrated pest and pollinator management talk, bees are really integral into our pollination ecosystem here, at least in Eastern North America. And so 4 of the 8 sections are actually about bees. So we've got a carpenter bee section because they are actually a very specific bee. And they're a lot of times considered a pest because they destroy or they burrow into people's structures.
Your deck and your fence. And,
Right. And people perceive that that's a bad thing, but they're very important pollinators. So she wanted to differentiate them between bumblebees, which are incredibly important. Mark mentioned last week about blueberry bumblebees or blueberry bees, and they look very similar to bumblebees, but they're not quite the same thing. And then honeybees, which are, of course, non-native to North America. But are still important to our agroecosystem, and a lot of people keep bees. So understanding, how frequently they visit in certain areas, and then small bees, which are kind of like all the other native bees. Which in North Carolina, we're pushing almost 600 different species of small bees just in 600. North Carolina. So, and then there's wasps, which people get grossed out about, but most of the time, if there is a wasp visiting a plant, drinking nectar, and going after pollen. They are focused on eating. They are not going to fly after you and attack you. They're on a mission. Flies are really important pollinators, so they're a pollinator group on here. Moths and butterflies. And moths and butterflies are very similar. So most people can't tell the difference between them, but so she's lived.
So you lumped them together on your form.
And then other insects, just everything else.
Okay.
All right. So all other 390,000 insects can go in that bucket.
Sure. So you, it really highlights how important bees are to pollination, that half of the form is just bees.
Yeah.
And I think maybe people in our audience might not be very comfortable being able to identify this bee versus that bee. Yeah. So do you have any resources to help them figure that out?
Definitely. So for the census, it's really quite simple. For carpenter bees, they have shiny hiney's. So if you're looking at a bee and it's big and it's got a shiny hiney or shiny abdomen, it's a carpenter bee. Don't think too hard about it.
Okay.
If it looks like a bumblebee, it's a bumblebee. Don't think too hard about it. Fuzzy.
Big and fuzzy.
Big and fuzzy.
Okay.
Honeybees, she's assuming that everyone knows what a honeybee looks like. They're kind of a medium bee and kind of a golden brown color with kind of dark brown to black stripes on their abdomens, but only honeybees. And then pretty much all of the other bees are smaller than all 3 of those other ones. So she tries to simplify it that way. But if people still are not comfortable after that little summary, a couple weeks ago, we got together with Dr. Hannah Levinson and Matt Bertone at NC State, and there is a get to know the pollinator or get to know the insects webinar that's on the Great Southeast Pollinator Census website.
And that's one, if you can put that in the chat.
Definitely.
I have the link
Everybody
for that.
should watch it.
It's an hour-long video on how to tell.
2 hours.
2 hours long video.
2 hours, but it's so worth it.
On how to tell all these different insects apart. Yeah, it's really good. I watched an hour of it, clearly not 2, but.
Well, and I want to prepare people because some people are like, an hour, give me it to it. But Hannah Levinson and Matt, they did their piece in an hour.
Yeah.
But at the end of that video, and this was kind of just like, none of us were expecting this to happen, but we did a little pop quiz. So I literally went into the pollinator garden at the extension office in Lee County, the Pollinator Haven Garden, And I just took pictures with my little dinky cell phone of what was landing on plants.
Okay.
And threw them in a PowerPoint and said, kind of did a pop quiz after they gave their talk and had everybody in the Zoom, what is this? And kind of a little pop quiz. And we learned so much, both about like the misconceptions that people have. So kind of breaking those misconceptions and reorienting people to like, okay, so you thought it was this is why it's not this, and this is why it's this. So reiterating some of those simplifications of these pollinator groups. So it's a really good way to start putting those in your mind.
So if y'all want to participate in the census, you can watch this video, and you're a little nervous about telling one from the other.
Yes.
You can watch this video ahead of time, and you can, on YouTube videos, you can put the speed at faster than 1.5 to 1. So
or slow it down.
Or slow it down, so you don't have to take 2 full hours.
I've been very, like, a couple of people have said I've watched it twice already because A, it was so good, and B, I needed to hear it again because it is, that's the second goal of the census, is to just show people that insects are out there. And I was thinking about it, my background is horticulture, public gardens, growing plants. Insects are cool and I love butterflies and bees, but, in terms of like my whole career and like everything that I've done up to this point, it's all been like, is that flower pretty? Is it going to survive here? Where does it come from? And really not thinking about the insect side, which is really incredibly important, for functioning ecosystems. And so now that I've kind of been involved in this, my entomological literacy is certainly increased, from my like 400 level entomology class at NC State all the way up to like, okay, now I can tell the difference between like a syrphid fly and a tachid fly and a canopid fly and get that deep. And I now have Extension Master Gardener volunteers who've been involved with me in this project, and now they can too. And they themselves, when they started, were like, I don't need to know that. But now, because they've been in it, they realize, it's doable. You can do this even if you're a lay person.
Yeah.
But also, it's cool to recognize that diversity, just the same way we recognize the diversity in our plant collections. To say that, like, hey, I have these plants in my landscape that attract a bunch of different insects is really flippin' cool.
Sure.
So kind of created a community around that.
So there's 2 parts to this. You're generating real data for data analysts about pollinators, but you're also triggering people to learn more. The census is actually a stepping stone to get people to start learning about this whole process. So it's really 2 benefits.
Yeah, it does. It sounds kind of pie in the sky, but this is our 3rd year having the census in North Carolina, and I'm starting to see those dividends. So in North Carolina, obviously I'm a horticulture agent, I'm a county agent, so I'm very different from Becky Griffin, who created the census. And North Carolina was the 3rd state that kind of joined the census group. So it was in Georgia starting in 2017, and then in 2022, South Carolina joined, and that person was also a state specialist. She was essentially the Becky equivalent in South Carolina, so working with a school and community gardens. But me, a little lowly county agent who's only working within a county, my network became the Extension Master Gardener volunteers and other consumer horticulture agents. So we came at it not from a school garden or a community garden angle, but from a Master Gardener volunteer, our consumer horticulture clients. And so it's been interesting to see how the messaging has been different, just to try and get the word out about the census, but then also like how people have engaged with the census, from a gardening perspective, like a plants person's garden, not necessarily like a bunch of 2nd graders counting, on their cosmos and their tomatoes. So it's been really cool to see that evolution. And then now we've got a whole core of Master Gardener volunteers that have been with us since 2023, who we helped me as a coordinator learn a lot about what's good, what works best to get the word out, and maybe what doesn't, and what makes a successful kind of coordinated counting event versus maybe, one that doesn't engage the public or doesn't help the public feel confident when they go out with a data sheet like this that they may have never seen before and feel like they're gathering useful data.
But this is not just Lee County, this is statewide.
Yes. Yep.
And so there's a lot of the county agents are involved with it, right?
Yes, yeah, we have so there's about 80 public events across the state in about 38 counties, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I'd say probably about 25 of those are county horticulture agent led. So yeah, we've got a lot of buy-in from the Extension Master Gardener volunteers and the county agents.
And here in Wake County, if you can do this in your own garden, right?
Yes, you can do this anywhere.
But you can go to a public space too. And if you come to the JCRA, we will have the data sheets at the front desk, and you can come pick them up and then walk around the garden and do the survey. Yeah. And so you find a plant that's got flowers on it, and you count for how many minutes?
15.
15 minutes. And you basically just look at that plant for 15 minutes and make a little, just make a hatch mark every time one visits. And then you sum them up, and there's a QR code right on the thing that you, when the day's over and you're back at home, you can submit your data.
You can do it on your smartphone too.
Yeah.
It's the form comes through really easy. It's easy to do on your phone. It looks like a little Google form, and you just tap it in there, and it takes no time at all.
And science happens. Yeah,
and science happens. And you can do it as many times as you want. So you see this, and it's nice and pretty and shiny and colorful. Wow, the cicadas are really loud.
Yeah.
Those are not pollinators, guys. I did get that question.
You can't count those.
Unless they're landing on a flower.
Yeah.
That's the difference. They need to be landing on a flower. Somebody did ask that question too. But you could use this as a guideline. So let's say you use this and okay, well, hey, I want to count on this plant. Then you see another one over there, and you're like, well, crap, I use this data sheet. You can flip it over and just, okay.
We will have more than one copy. You can go ahead and grab a couple. And since this is on the Extension website, you can print some out at home too,
totally,
as many as you want.
I guess I say that not to say that you have to keep reusing every piece of it, but it is important to know that each one of these is for only one species of plant. So if you want to go count on, a mountain mint plant, you only use this data sheet. And if you wanted to go count over here on some roses, you get a new data sheet. You don't lump them all into one.
Yeah. Each data sheet is one plant for one 15-minute time period. Yep. Ideally.
Yes.
Reuse the sheets if you can, though. So you've mentioned master gardeners. You did mention briefly kids. Who all can participate in this thing? It's not just for adults. It's for pretty much any age group, right?
Yeah, my recommendation is 10 and up, because you have to sit there for 15 minutes.
You have to sit still. Okay,
yes.
That's going to challenge some adults too.
Yes, it is, and so that it can be done. Hey, if you've got a 6-year-old who can sit there for 15 minutes and tally mark every time they see an insect, go for it. It is open to anybody. And if you do want to get a data sheet and you find either you get bored, or your child or whatever doesn't complete it, just don't upload the data. It's not like the end of the world. Or you can have them try it, and if you're okay, we only got 10 minutes, just don't upload the data, but you tried, and now you know how it feels.
Or it can be, a child and grandma.
Exactly.
And grandma's doing the data collection with the child helping.
Exactly.
And then you can get the full, if the kid wanders off and does something else, the grandma can stay there and finish the 15 minutes.
Exactly. And we have had a lot of grandparents have sent me nice emails where they did that with their grandkids, on a weekend they had them, and a lot of them say the grandkid wandered off in the yard, but I found it very fulfilling and then they noticed that their grandkids noticed more insects. Yeah. Even if they didn't spend the whole 15 minutes. So that to me is a success.
And it is very peaceful to just sit in a garden and contemplate the world, which means the little teeny things and the big sky and everything else. So it's really great.
It does sound kind of hokey, but that is another kind of anecdotal benefit to this is people have said it's so nice to be given the space to just sit for 15 minutes and watch a plant. And they do just report that I wasn't expecting to, but I felt calmer after doing this.
It's transcendental, sure. Yeah. So
I find it.
And it doesn't just have to be individuals. It can be clubs, you know,
Definitely.
conservation clubs or 4-H clubs or scout troops or what other kind of clubs are involved?
Anybody. We have venturing crews, we have Girl Scout, Boy Scout, we've got different land conservancy groups, other botanical gardens in North Carolina, master gardener groups. We've got the North Carolina Wildlife Federation is doing it. You had mentioned before the webinar started, we've got the North Carolina Pollinator Conservation Alliance, which is an alliance of professionals that work in the pollinator conservation field. So I'm a member of that. And on Friday, we'll have many members of that organization down at the State Farmers Market. We'll be there from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. But there are a couple of, every event is slightly different. Some of them are just helping people count, and some of them are doing a little bit more, either having plant sales or they're going to have more like interpretation. But I'm very excited. If you are in Wake County or can drive here, Dr. Hannah Levinson, who is one of our integrated pest and pollinator management specialists and bee specialists at NC State, she's going to be collecting bees at the State Farmers Market with people and showing people how to collect them and identify them.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun.
I'm kind of jealous. I'm going to be focusing on the census, but you can...
And here in Wake County, so you can come to the JCRA, you can go to this farmer's market, and I've got a link in there of all the places you can go to, of the public spaces that you can do this. There's a community garden off of Hillsborough Street that is hosting one. Hemlock Bluffs in Carey is hosting it. And that's just Wake County. And this course is, however, 38 counties or whatever, so it's all over.
Yeah, Chatham County, if you're near Pittsboro or Siler City, they've got events both Friday and Saturday. Even, I noticed Chatham County's doing an evening event. So if you get off of work and you're heading through Pittsboro, from 6 to 7, they're doing an event. So you can do it after work.
Sure.
In Lee County, we are going to be everywhere and all over the county, but we're doing pollinator garden workshops on Friday morning and Saturday morning. Sorry, I'll be teaching that while you guys are doing
gardening
in the South.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll be there all day, and I'm excited. At the end of Saturday, I will be at our local brewery, Hugger Mugger, having beer, counting insects. So.
Okay, counting suds. So if y'all are coming to Gardening in the South, it ends at noon. Go to the lobby, pick up a sheet,
there you go.
Head out into the garden, and have extend your fun for the rest of the day.
Hey man, if you are coming to Gardening in the South and you've never been to the Raulston, don't rush off. You may be hungry. You will survive. You should take a moment to go walk through the Arboretum. You're here, do the census, take a moment, maybe walk through and then do the census and then go eat somewhere. But I'm kind of jealous. I do miss seeing. So Adrian Roffling is going to be speaking about cold hardy tropicals, and that alone is worth coming to the talk. But the stormwater management talk is also going to be very interesting. So if you are new to North Carolina, stormwater management is going to be part of your life. You should totally come learn about it.
And if you've experienced any of the rain that we've gotten in the last 6 weeks, and any of the flooding, it might going to be fresh on your mind for sure.
Yes.
Especially if you're on the bottom of a hill. So so you mentioned a little bit about the time. So when does it start? When does it end? What times a day or night?
Yeah. Well, so it starts at 12 a.m. on Friday, August 22nd.
So that's midnight.
Midnight. You can go out in your garden, and I have some master gardeners who want to go observe their moon vines.
Yeah. Get the moths
in the morning. So 12 a.m. August 22nd to 11:59 a.m. August 24th, which is different than all of the marketing we've done. I found out from our program coordinator in Georgia that we are extending the census to the whole weekend. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, August 24th, you can gather data, which hopefully some of our faith-based organizations may take some time after service on Sunday morning to maybe stop and gather some information about pollinators. That is a point of, I've had 2 emails in the last month of people saying, can you just do it on Sunday so we can do it after church? And I'm like, well, it's just Friday and Saturday. So we're trying to recognize, the communities impacted by Aaron, but
because of the hurricane, you can't get out on the coast.
So just from all day 22nd, all day 23rd, all day 24th, And after the 24th, the census itself is over. You can enter your data. So let's say you did like 20 censuses and you didn't take the time to enter the data as soon as you finished it. You could theoretically, you've got 2 more weeks to like sit down long enough to enter your data.
Okay.
But the sampling window is only the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 24th of August.
So I assume teachers and their classes could also do this, right?
Definitely.
Are there special materials for educators?
Oh my gosh, there are so many resources for educators. The Great Southeast Pollinator Census in North Carolina website, which is on our extension website, has a tab for different types of organizations that may be wanting to do the census with their group or host an event. And there's a whole educators tab because, Becky Griffin was a community and school garden coordinator. She has tons of STEM and language arts curricula and activities that people can do for all ages from K through 12.
Right.
And on our website, I've linked to a lot of our 4-H curricula that are available through your local cooperative extension office. There's a curriculum for kindergarten, 1st grade, 4th grade, one for middle school and one for high school. So, and even if you're not teaching those grades per se, there's great activities in there. So,
sure.
Lots of activities.
Yeah, I was looking at the website earlier, and there's even like coloring sheets for the kids of beetles and bees and things. I guess the adults too can do it, and stay in the lines and,
So it's so funny. So I created those coloring sheets. We did we were actually at a local nighttime, what's it called? The Star Party that was done with the North Carolina Science Festival in April. And our local library hosted a Star Fest, which they had, we were out at the local park. It was totally dark and they had their telescopes out looking at, different, like the moon and stars and things. But we had a nocturnal pollinators table at that event and had coloring, those coloring sheets and had like black light markers and things that the students could use, and it went over so well. Like some of the families were taking them home, but the other benefit of those coloring sheets is if you download them, you can download them for free. They have a website link on them to learn more about pollinators, learn more about the census, and on the back side for parents and families, once you're kind of done seeing the colored beetle, you can flip it over and learn how you can help pollinators in your landscape. So,
and you can put it on your refrigerator. And you can put it on your refrigerator when you're done too. Yeah.
Exactly. There are 13 different coloring sheets on there.
Okay.
And there's stickers too.
Well, my weekend's filled.
Excellent.
I'm in color.
I put them at the brewery and the kava bar that we're partnering with on Saturday. Yeah. And they have gone over so well. So, highly recommend.
I want to take a second. Do we have any questions coming in?
Sure, we have a question. I also wanted to mention that I really like what you've been saying about helping the kids and getting kids interested in this kind of thing, because that's very important. I'm sure everybody who's a parent really understands that. And it reminds me of this quote from Luther Burbank about how no child's education is complete without interacting with grasshoppers and beetles and mud and the wild world, and just getting them to notice more things like that. And what Dennis said about just sitting and being in the moment in your garden is really, it is powerful, even if it's cheesy.
And one of my favorite things is enjoying the kinetic energy that insects bring to the garden. You're enjoying the color and the form of the plants, which is, as plants people, that's what we're really into. But then you see that little butterfly fluttering by, or the bee busy going from flower to flower. And if you get close enough, you can see the little mouthpiece working into the flowers, getting the nectar out and stuff. It's really cool.
That is a good point. Well, what was your question?
So the only question we've got that wasn't answerable by the links that you provided was, Jeannie asked, what would be the best time of day to see a lot of pollinators? Is there a good answer for that?
There are no dumb questions. There are no bad questions. But any time of day is a good time to collect data. So, if you think about, there are maybe times of day where it might be more interesting for you as a data collector, but ideally, as a data collection person who wants the data, any time of day is a great time to collect data, because we want to know, what pollinators are visiting that plant at 6 in the morning and at 6 at night. Like we're not looking for a certain time of day. All data is good data as long as it's within that collection window and it tells a story. So I did remember that other plant that I couldn't remember that was really weird. Of course, it's my garden and my master gardeners that are collecting data on weird plants, but I've got a Gara longiflora, which is this humongo jungo, like garland hymerized.
Little flowers, yeah.
Yeah, little flowers, but and it's a little plant, garland hymerized, the one that's really popular, whirling butterflies. Longiflora is a 7 to 8 foot tall plant.
Okay.
It's like steroidal, but the flowers are only open from about 6 in the morning till about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then after that, they close. So the master gardener she did a census count on it at 7:30 and at 9:30, and the data was completely different.
Sure. And your moon vines and your morning glories and your 4 o'clocks for the early evening folks, all of those would be good.
Lantana, I go out to the extension office sometimes in the evenings, and during the day your lantana bush is going to be attracting butterflies and things like that, but at night you've got your sphinx moths.
Yeah,
they're going to come. That you may see a few of them on it maybe early morning, but really most of those nighttime pollinators, but it's going to be a completely different count.
So that's a great question, a great answer to a great question. All day long.
Yeah,
you pick it, whatever your favorite is, or maybe go and get some lunch and then come back and get some dinner and try again.
Yeah. There is, though, so you can do it on any plant that's in flower. So if it's got flowers that are open that insect pollinators can land on, it's a good plant to do. But this year we are adding kind of this new part of the census where we're encouraging folks to count on oregano. So we being the state coordinators, took a group field trip to London in May. And we met with our colleagues at the UK Center for Hydrology and Ecology, which is kind of the UK's equivalent of the EPA. They have a pollinator project very similar to the pollinator census called the UK Pollinator Monitoring Scheme, or PALMS, UK PALMS project. And their project, they actually have very similar insect pollinator groups that they ask for people to look at. They have a 10-minute data collection window, and they have a preferred pollinator plant list for people to monitor on.
Okay.
You have to remember
make it a little easier.
You make it a little easier, and so you can compare and contrast across the different plant groups. But one of the things that we can grow in the Southeast that might be in flower that's on that list is oregano. So if you've got any kind of oregano, it just has to be in the genus Oreganum. So marjoram, Italian, Greek, whatever, as long as it's an oregano, we're asking folks to count on that, and we're going to send the data to the UK so we can actually start comparing and contrasting the different insect pollinators between the continents.
Okay.
I'm very excited about that.
Very cool. Okay, so we're international now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. That was a cool trip, man.
So any other questions?
One quick one, and then I have one myself. Luis asked, are we doing hummingbirds?
So yes, so hummingbirds are great pollinators, especially in the Southeast, but they are not part of the census. This is insect focused. So don't even put it under other insects because they're not an insect. Just enjoy that your hummingbird is coming and that you're providing nectar source for your hummingbird. But no, we're not counting hummingbirds. Understood.
And my question was, you mentioned pollinators at night. Are there a lot of nighttime pollinators?
Sometimes. It depends on where you're at. Insect pollinators, or nighttime pollinators and nocturnal pollinators are impacted by different kind of pressures. So our night pollution, our light pollution at night is really not beneficial to them. So we probably don't have as much visitation as we might if we were in darker places or you turn your lights off at night. But they are very different. There's only been one documented species of bumblebee that can be found at night. But the entomologists do say no one's really ever looked because entomologists don't generally go out at night looking for pollinators at night. Most of them are just looking for other things. So we still have a lot to learn about nocturnal pollinators. So I haven't officially challenged people to do it at night, but it would be really cool if people just took a moment to 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night, go and look at your lantana or some other flowering plant that you may have seen things on and see what it says. We may learn something.
Sure. Yeah. Knock yourself out. That'd be real interesting just to see, right?
Definitely. The research, the more I've been kind of delving into this, we've made a lot of assumptions, I think, especially as horticulturists and gardeners, when we write books about, gardening for pollinators and trying to support pollinators, but there's huge gaps in the knowledge and we make a lot of gross assumptions on it. So for example, there are 35 Extension Master Gardener demonstration gardens across the state. And we partnered with Dr. Elsa Youngstead and Dr. Hannah Levinson in the Departments of Applied Ecology and Entomology and Plant Pathology. And we did a STEM study of when do stem nesting insects utilize the standing stems in a garden? Mm-hmm. Because no one actually knew.
Right.
Nobody had ever published on it. People had just assumed, and we actually studied it for 2 years and took data. As part of the study, they collected almost 2,200 stems from 10 gardens across the state, from the mountains to the sea. And we found out that you need to leave your stems for at least a year until they come for them to be colonized by stem nesting bees and wasps.
Okay.
So the plant that comes up in year 1 is not colonized until the spring of year 2.
Okay.
So people who've been cutting back their pollinator gardens over the winter to clean them up are actually cutting away all of this habitat. And nobody had ever actually studied it.
And you can maybe cut back, but not cut all the way down some of these hollow-stemmed grasses and other things. And so the stems are there, but you also have the growth for you, right?
Yeah, so the recommendation, so there is a publication on NC State Extension website that kind of goes through the recommendations for kind of garden cleanup, and 18 to 24 inches is what's best. And you do that kind of from the November to February time, 18 to 24 inches. So you do have some standing dead, but you have some uniformity. You take the hedge trimmers to it, or you can kind of trim it up, and that's what's going to be colonized. But the new growth that comes up out of a lot of our perennials, a lot of times will hide, or
very quickly,
yeah. So you really don't see it for very long. So it's really beneficial. So we're learning a lot. Take all the data.
So part of the one of the other benefits of getting involved with the census is that it develops an interest in pollinator gardens.
Yeah.
And that's a whole part of this too, right?
Definitely. So that sustainable pollinator habitat, people, I appreciated Mark's IPM talk last week because, gardening is people find gardening for many different reasons. They garden for many different reasons. But he said something that was really poignant that, actually, Blake, it was you who said that. Your garden is part of the local ecosystem. And some people forget that. They think, okay, this is my little plot of land, and it's my little thing, and it's mine, and it isn't connected with the other things. But trust me, that bumblebee, that's going from yard to yard to yard to yard could care less whose property line they just crossed. And so kind of recognizing that you're part of this greater whole, and everybody can do their own part. So, we focus on, as gardeners, we focus on something that's aesthetically pleasing generally, or produces some sort of food crop for us. But, there are definitely ways to do those things and support our local pollinator and insect populations. So just even food crops or aesthetic crops can provide habitat or nectar or pollen resources, or, stem nesting resources, or leaving the leaves is going to provide, I know a lot of people don't like to do that, but there's a lot of insect pollinators that overwinter in the leaves and need that to complete their life cycles. So I think once people start recognizing there's so many more different insects out there than they realized, and their life cycles are so complex, and we're still learning so much, just every little bit that you can do in your own patch makes a huge difference.
And if you wanted to maybe pick some plants for your garden that are good pollinator attractors, there's a lot of information on your website about it, but maybe you could give us a couple hints.
Oh man, Dennis, that should be the fourth rule of Midweek Program. Do not ask for a plant recommendation or you're going to get 50 plants. That's what, hey, Mark said I could do that.
Yeah.
Let me give you 50 plants.
Well, I know you're a fan of Pycnanthemum.
I am.
It's one of my favorites too.
Anytime.
Great pollinator plant, covered in them.
Yes. Mountain Pycnanthemum uticum is definitely going to be flowering right now. And that's the smooth or the cluster leaf mountain mint or whatever. That's a really good one. Some of the other species are a little slower growing and flower a little earlier, but still just as good. I really like Pycnanthemum albescens too, because the leaves, the bracts around the flowers are much, much showier. Really, really white statement in the landscape. Silphium, big fan of the rosin
you like
weeds.
Silphium too. Yeah.
Give me a Silphium perfoliatum any day. Mm-hmm. Although definitely still a fan of Silphium terebinthinaceum, which is the prairie dock, and has really large leaves, and just a really, like, if you like Rudbeckia maxima, the giant cone flower, think Rudbeckia maxima on steroids, if you can imagine, and that's what Silphium terebinthinaceum is. And if you aren't planning on it, you should. Silphium, that Silphium is usually flowering at Juniper Level Botanic Garden during their fall open house. So if you haven't seen it and you're not in the Sandhills of North Carolina, go to Juniper Level during their fall open house and see the Silphium terebinthinaceum flowering. It's also fun to say.
It is.
They definitely love things in the mint family. So basil, oregano, a lot of your herb plants are really popular with pollinators. And really, with pollinators, it's important to plant a diversity of things. So if you can have something flowering almost year round, you're going to be supporting some kind of pollinator. I know here in the Arboretum, most of our native pollinators are going to be dormant during the coldest winter months, but people who keep honeybees on a warm day, they come out. And I've been out here looking at the camellias, Camellia sasanqua and japonica, and they'll be collecting pollen on those, and they are actually native pollinators of those species. So planting a diversity of things is what's really important. And I challenge folks to, you can use the plant toolbox, NCSU plant toolbox, to find something that's appropriate for your yard. The Ladybird Johnson Wildflower Center website is excellent for selecting plants as well, and they've got some really great, they focus only on native plants of North America, and they've got some really good photos, and you can select for your local garden situation as well. But sometimes you also you should walk around your local botanical garden because you're at the nursery, whatever nursery you choose to go to, and you're looking at this cute little plant in a 3-gallon, 1-gallon pot, and you're like, I love that thing. And then you plant in your yard, and either maybe it doesn't perform, or it goes bonkers, or it does something that it wasn't showing you in that nursery pot. Mm-hmm. But if you go to your local garden, botanical garden, and you see what it looks like, you can really know if you're going to be in love with it. So I always challenge people to get out there and look at their local botanical gardens, because that's where you can see if you're really going to be in love.
Yeah, you've seen people in the background of these shots walking through the trial beds. We would invite you to come and do the same.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Hey, I remember. So here's an intern story here. So summer of 2010, during the landscape field day for the professional landscapers, we were out here, and that was the first year that they introduced Gara lindheimeri whirling butterflies to the industry. Mm-hmm. And every year, if you've seen that, if you've been to the field day, you get 3 flags to vote for your favorite plants. That thing, they couldn't put any more flags around that plant. There was only like 5 other plants that got flags. Like, people put all their flags next to that plant. It was phenomenal. So yeah, great place to learn some new cool things.
How are we on the chat?
No questions that I've seen.
Excellent.
Have some questions.
It sounds like this is a really fun data collection project.
Yeah.
Citizen science is awesome.
For adults and kids, yeah.
Right. It sounds like the gateway for improving your local ecosystem. Sounds like everybody can do a part in that.
Yeah.
And it's a good opportunity to also bring your camera and take pictures of the insects and the flowers.
Yep.
And you can kind of double down on your citizen science and post those to iNaturalist.
Yes.
As well.
That's a good point. So people get really hung up. Like, especially at the first year that the census was in North Carolina, some people tried it and they were like hooked. And I got emails and people are like, well, why is it only 2 days? And I'm like, well, there's lots of reasons, but there's lots of other community science projects that you can get involved with. So iNaturalist is like the first one I recommend, because it's like the best things about Pokemon Go and the best things about using your phone camera, because you're just pretty much taking pictures of what you see around you and you're posting them to iNaturalist. And there are real scientists using that data to understand where these species are occurring. I took a picture of a moth that I had seen multiple times, but I posted it up there and I got an email from one of the scientists from the North Carolina Natural Heritage Program. He's like, no one has ever documented this species in Lee County. Like, it had been found in all the other counties around Lee, but I was the first person to finally put a picture up there. And so every little bit counts. Remember, these scientists don't have the time to go out and look at everything everywhere all the time. But we have a device that can do that for us now. So that's one that anybody can do. Yeah. The other one that I try to give some a shout out to is the Southeast Bumblebee Atlas. So if you really like the census and you're like, I want to do more science, and I want to do more entomology, the Southeast Bumblebee Atlas is like the next level, where you actually learn how to collect bumblebees. They're not killing them, they're collecting them. And they cool them down, they slow them down, they take identification photos, they upload those to a website that's internal to the Xerces Society. And that's helping us understand what the bumblebees are in the Southeast. Okay. And that's a great project because no one's really ever done that before. We have about a dozen species or so, but we're not sure. That project is being led by the Xerces Society for Invertebrate Conservation, which is based out of California, or the Pacific Northwest. But they have been doing a bumblebee atlas up there in the Pacific Northwest. And because of the data collection that they've done, they have described a completely new species of bumblebee because
of community science.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you could get in on that too. Mm-hmm. That's a level up though.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work, but if you're a homeschool group and you have a student who's really into insects, this is actually you can learn the skills, in a couple of days, and there are local biologists and entomologists who can help you and mentor you that are happy to send you out with a collecting net and a cooler and help you work through that. It's a good thing. You don't even have to do like there's different levels to the project, so you can really get in at whatever level you want. Because again, they need as many eyes on their project as we can get.
Betty Dew asked, how is this being advertised?
How is this being advertised? Betty, you know how this is being advertised. I've tried to put it everywhere. It's been on Facebook, on Instagram, on the radio. I know local radio stations, regional radio stations. We've got the website. The Extension Master Gardener program has been putting out information. Different social medias of different organizations that are running programs and events are pushing it out. So if you haven't seen it yet, you probably will after watching this because the algorithm is listening to you. But I know that all of the folks who are hosting events have put it up on their social media, so it's out there.
There are some social media links in the material I gave you, a Facebook page and an Instagram page that are for marketing stuff.
And there's a Facebook group for people who are interested in this. It's Southeast Pollinator Census. You just search for that, and that's the official group for the Great Southeast Pollinator Census. NC State Extension just posted a video of me this week doing something. Yeah, it's out there.
It's on our webpage as well. Because of our involvement with it. We have an event page for it. Yep. It's on our calendar.
Yep. So, but hey, if you have only just learned about the census and you are compelled to do it, please go check out the website and share it on your social media that you are doing it, because it is so simple.
Yeah, get the word out.
Yeah.
Tell all your friends and grandkids and kids.
Yeah, it takes everybody. I mean, if everybody, our statewide goal for North Carolina this year is to have more than 5,000 counts. So we had 2,284 counts in 2024. That would be more than double what we had last year, but we had more than double what we had in 2023. So I think we can do it.
Okay. You have more counties participating this year?
We did. We theoretically do. Okay. We had 78 counties participate from the mountains to the sea last year in North Carolina. My other goal is all 100 counties have at least one count in every county.
Sure.
Because not even Georgia can do that.
Yeah.
They have 150 counties to their credit, but Georgia has been at this. This will be the 7th year Georgia's been participating. In 2024, they had more than 16,000 counts across the state.
So print out a sheet, get in your car, and go to another county and count one thing, and then get in your car, make a road trip of it.
Right. Hit a couple counties.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Get a Red Bull and some Slim Jims and hit the road.
So we need the Northeast counties, all those, although the extension agent in Kelly and Chowan, Gates, and Perquimans, her Master Gardener volunteers, I think have got the Tri-County area on lock.
Okay.
That Washington, Bertie, Beaufort area, we need some representation there.
Okay. Not necessarily a good weekend to go to the beach with the hurricane.
Well, if you have friends and family who are down there.
There is Sunday.
That's right. But we also have some mountain counties that we're looking for, some like Ashe County, Watauga. So
yeah,
there's a count needed in every county.
Okay.
So tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Tell all your friends. Yeah, call them up.
I mean, hey, you kept asking like, where can you do this? I literally mean anywhere. So it can be done in your backyard. It can be done at the local park, at your botanical garden. One of the reasons why we have the website is for people who, if you don't feel confident doing it on your own in your backyard, you can go join a group and do it and kind of get some support, and maybe take that and do it back home at, where you feel comfortable, or you've got plants that are yours. But there is also a link to all of the extension demonstration gardens across the state.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you don't know of a local park that has pollinator plants in it and you want to get some pollinator garden inspiration, there's 35 different gardens across the state that you can visit.
That's one of the links in the material.
So
I got it already. Excellent.
Amen. So there is also a public gardens map on the Extension Gardener website, which the J.C. Raulston is obviously listed, but all of the public botanical gardens and some of like the public but maybe not official public gardens are on that website as well. So
yeah. And there's a lot of community gardens.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, besides the pollinator gardens that the extension office is involved with, there's a lot of community gardens you could go to that you might know about that we won't necessarily know about.
Exactly. I would, and hopefully the community garden community will hear about that. I've been working with the community garden specialist at NCA&T who has been sharing it out on her network. So anybody, and it doesn't have to be in a garden. It can be at a park, on the hiking trail, in the woods.
Maybe not go to Home Depot and sit in the aisle.
Probably don't be annoying like that. I do know there are some nurseries that are doing census counts at their nurseries, and doing it as a way to attract folks. So if you're so inclined, there are plant sales and plant nurseries hosting census events as well.
Sounds like,
and if they're not, you should totally tell them about it, and then they can use it as a marketing ploy next year.
There you go. It really works. It really works. This is something everyone should be thinking about, I think. So this sounds like a great opportunity to get out there and count some bugs. Amanda, Dennis, thank you guys very much for your time. Audience, thank you for your time. I hope you enjoyed this midweek, and I hope you celebrated some pollinators today.
And come on out this weekend and count some bugs.
Yeah.